People, Deluded, I'm back again. YouTube's N'Golo Kante and them things there. It's been a while since I said that. Now you lot know, with football being suspended, there's F all really to speak about. But we might as well speak about some stuff. We might as well cover these reports of Manchester United eyeing up Aubameyang and a couple of other clubs. Little word on Alexis Sanchez, even though he's not relevant. We're hearing someone in relation to Data Athletics has left Arsenal to join or rejoin Arsene Wenger, but at FIFA. And Bellerin has spoken, so let's get into it. First and foremost, Aubameyang's future. Every day is linked with someone. The Sun have been reporting today, but if it's not the Sun, it's Sport or it's somewhere else. If he's not going Real Madrid tomorrow, he's going Barca one day because his family is there. He's joining Chelsea because they're in London. He's joining Man United to be part of the rebuild. Liverpool and his former manager Klopp are eyeing him. You know, these are all attractive offers, let's be honest, really and truly. And let's get into it and just humour it. We do know we've got a difficult decision to make. We do know that we've got ourselves in a bit of a puddle with Aubameyang's future. There's no rights and wrongs, because on one hand, do we sell him and recoup funds? On the other, do we get rid of all the other players that need to be moved on, bring in central midfielders and centre-halves, fix up the team, keep Aubameyang for a year? If his 20 goals are the difference, 20 league goals minimum are the difference between us getting 4th and 5th for Champions League, then he's done his job. We can reinvest in the summer, or he might be convinced to stay. Either way, that's a dangerous game. As you know, from January next year, he can agree a move. At 30, 31 years of age, he's got a decision to make. Does he stay where he looks comfortable at Arsenal? He's the captain. You know, you hear he wants 300 bags a week, whether we're going to give him that. But if you give him a healthy contract with goal bonuses, allegedly he still gets Champions League bonus even though not in it. But if he gets a healthy contract, if he's in London, he feels important and feels the love and feels stable with his family, then why not? You know, he speaks a lot of languages and he's been linked with Inter Milan. Does a return to Italy appeal to him? Does a move to Spain where he's obviously got Spanish in him, and you hear he's got family near the region of Barcelona, on top of it obviously being Barcelona? Does it, you know, it is what it is. So the Chelsea one, apparently Chelsea have entered this race. Chelsea are being linked with every striker because they need one. And it would make sense for them to try it. For them, obviously, I'm sure they could give him something healthy. How many years on their deal would they give him? Because apparently William wants 3 years. They're prepared to only offer 1 or 2. You're hearing the same with Pedro. I know Aubameyang's a bit younger than them, but there's something they've got to factor in. Also, they've got Giroud of similar ages. So what sort of contract would they give Aubameyang? It's all different because Aubameyang's a top-class player, so it's almost irrelevant. But there's a decision to make, and obviously staying in London might appeal to him. He's obviously been linked with Liverpool. Apparently, there's also been interest in Aubameyang from Liverpool, who are looking for more depth in their attack this summer. Manager Jurgen Klopp is known to be a big fan from their time together at Dortmund, although the Reds appear to be focusing on Timo Werner. So if they're focusing on Werner, they're focusing on Werner. It would obviously hurt if he joined the rival, but for them, he'd be brilliant. I mean, if you move Firmino into a 10-role and play Aubameyang through the middle, could you imagine the goals Aubameyang, Mane and Salah would all get, all three rotating different positions? Also, Aubameyang gives them scope to play someone on the left-hand side. Could you imagine Robertson and Aubameyang on that left-hand side? It's a myth. Could you imagine if you just wanted to play Aubameyang on the left-hand side? Aubameyang's getting 20 league goals minimum. Mo Salah, Mane, all these guys doing ridiculous things. I mean, Liverpool have to look at ways of improving that side because it's been together for a while now. They're going to win the league when it resumes. They need to rebuild. They've won champs with that team. They need to look at that next level. I remember getting a lot of stick when I said maybe a striker who can score goals with banging that team. Do you get it? Can they get that? Can they get a creative midfielder? Because you look at their midfield, you look at when Milner plays there, Wijnaldum, Henderson and Fabinho, take nothing away from how they're playing because they're all well and they're all useful for the team. But have any of them got the X factor that they might have been missing when they had Coutinho? That's something for Liverpool fans to feature. Obviously, joining the league champions, joining a competitive side, which I've just said, Champions League and Premier League, is something that appeals to him, especially his age. And it's a big club, Liverpool, a well-followed club. And playing under a former manager who knows him and understands him and knows the best to get out of him, something you might not turn down. There's reasons to want to go to all of them. He's been linked with Man United. Now, Man United might not get Champions League football, but it's a similar position like Arsenal. Wouldn't make much sense for him to go to United, really and truly. How many times have they finished above Arsenal since Ferguson's gone, really? But if they get Champions League, it's there. Obviously, like Alexis Sanchez, and maybe United have to be wary of this, they could give him, he could earn respectable salary. At the end of the day, it's Manchester United, the biggest club in England. To say you've played for them in your career is a big thing. So there's obviously that, the chance to be a poster boy, and you see, it must be exciting times being a player. Because I mean, whether Pogba stays or not, we hear a lot of rumours. But there's Pogba, Bruno Fernandes. You're hearing Liverpool as well, but you're hearing talk of Jadon Sancho and players like that. You know, that Aubameyang might concede, okay, they're bringing in stars, I might have more of a chance of winning something here. And I've played for Arsenal and United, two big clubs in England. Like, that might be something he appeals to. He's obviously been linked with Barca and Madrid, and I think they're the easiest ones to speak about because they pick themselves. Like, do you really need to explain to someone the benefits of playing for Real Madrid and Barca? Come on now, really and truly, come on. Away from that, he's been linked with PSG. I don't know the truth in that, but I mean, out of all the moves he could do, I wouldn't actually mind PSG. I think he'd fit in well. He likes the flashy cars, and he is someone. He's what I call a football influencer in that he's got a lot of clout and he just looks cool doing stuff. And you see Neymar and Mbappe and all the PSG lads with their sponsors by Jordan and stuff. They look quite certified. And I think Aubameyang would complement the side well. I think he'd get on well with everybody on the sporting front. He'd obviously bang. Obviously, you did hear he had some issues with Tuchel towards the end of his time at Dortmund. Whether Tuchel's there or not in the summer remains to be seen if and when the season regains, but that might be something to think about for Aubameyang. Now, the thing is, these reports in regards to Liverpool, United and Chelsea have come out from various sources over time, but I think I've seen one in the Sun, a couple in the Sun, so make of that what you will. In relation to Alexis Sanchez, I think the decline of Alexis, I don't care because he was a pagan, but it's sad, man, car. What, let's say 3 years ago, if you was to ask if is Alexis a top 5, top 10 player, many people might make, top 5 is a bit debatable, but top 10 footballer, you would say yes. Now, if you was to list the best top 10 players on the planet, you're not listing Alexis Sanchez. And maybe it was always coming because he's played a lot of football just domestically and internationally. He never rests, really. Maybe it was always coming, man. This is a sad decline. Obviously, he went United, big wages, flopped. He's gone to Inter Milan at 31 years of age, having injuries, only made 15 appearances in all comps this season, and flopped. And you can imagine they're not making that deal permanent because it don't make no sense for them to make it permanent. So we'll have to see, man. And with Alexis, it's always like, because I would have given Alexis a new deal. You always want to know, like, I wonder, when do you really know a player is declining, really? Because someone must have predicted that, really and truly. Moving away from that and speaking about Arsenal and someone who is departing, for the last 10 years, this is from the Athletic people, the publication. This is the only bits that I got of relevance. The man who revolutionised Arsenal's use of data and analytics is leaving the club to join Arsene Wenger at FIFA. For the past 10 years, Jason Rosenfeld has overseen StatDNA, which is, you know, the analytical thing that allegedly was why we signed Xhaka Mustafi. Don't know that to be fact. Arsenal's internal analytics company, he has been a popular figure at the club, and his influence is such that he was involved in the recruitment committee for the head coach in 2018. Now, I do think we didn't use data properly when you look at the signings we've signed, but we were ahead of our time in terms of data. A lot of teams have caught up. There's a lot of analytics, so we have to, you know, in an ideal world, if we can marry the best data with the best scouting teams and the best people to have a collaborative effort to give us the advantage, that's all good. Long story short of this article, before I go on, it seems like his power kind of waded with, you know, he's kind of fallen victim, better yet, to what Miss Lissa had to go through, is that structural changes are kind of changing your role, and it's become a thing where you might as well leave. Like you seen with him go to Stuttgart and go and get a position he couldn't get at Arsenal, and more of an influence with Raul Sanllehi and Edu and the alleged different approach we might be taking. Also, when I said people, he also played a role in dissuading Arsenal from extending Unai Emery's contract last summer, and his departure is being viewed as a big loss by many at the club. Of course it's going to be a loss. This is someone who's clearly big on analytics, someone that can help us in a certain degree. Hopefully we bring people in. We can bring someone in to replace it. But I mean, you know, the opportunity, if he's losing authority at Arsenal and the chance to join Arsene Wenger, a former friend of his that he's worked with, at a big organisation at FIFA with the turbulent time Arsenal's going in, you can't begrudge him for taking that, really and truly. And also, you know what? You get my respect for dissuading the club from giving Emery a new deal, car. At least someone had their thinking cap on, car. I don't know. He was bugging out to even give Emery a new deal, regardless of finishing 5th and the Europa League final. To be fair, the macro of that, it is a good season, but the micro, we know tactically, technically, player relations, Emery, it wasn't going to be a marriage that was going to last long. It's understood that in recent months, Rosenfeld's influence has been reduced as Arsenal's new executive structure took shape, with head of football Raul Sanllehi preferring a contact-led approach to transfer business. Okay. The company first began working with Arsenal on a consultancy basis, as you guys know, in 2011, and the relationship proved successful enough for the club to decide to purchase the company in 2012 for 2.1 million. Not only as Rosenfeld I can't say his name, hugely admired in his field, he is said to have an encyclopedic knowledge of football. At a meeting where StatDNA first presented their offering to Wenger, they demonstrated an insight about various deals Arsenal had done in the past, including the signing of Chamac from Bordeaux. Rosenfeld was able to demonstrate that he could help the club avoid making similar unsuccessful purchases in the future. And that's why I'd say it's all good having this data analytics and having someone like that, but if he's saying, okay, don't sign this player because he's saying this, and we're still going and doing it, people are going to be crippled. And with our new structure, you need to be careful. And for me in particular, I'm looking at Raul Sanllehi and seeing what he's doing, because Mislintat's gone, this guy is gone. Raul Sanllehi, you've got to pull it out the bag, because especially when you talk about contracts, people. I've heard a lot about contracts and they're not being renewed. Sorry, people. They're not being renewed. So with all this structure, I need to see people taking on the workload, people. And also, for me, we're losing away from the stats, is that clearly, from what I never knew of this man before now, but we're losing someone that's got their thinking cap on, someone that's a real footballing man. You can have all the data analytics, you can have all the executives, you need people who understand football. And I'm not saying anyone at Arsenal doesn't understand football. We've got Edu, who was a former player. But I'm sure many Arsenal fans would agree, you typically look at things and think, well, what's going on here, sort of thing. So yeah, while StatDNA's main office is in Chicago, during the transfer window, Rosenfeld would customarily spend the vast majority of his time in his office at London Coley, where there's also a team of analysts. Wenger embraced Rosenfeld's data-led approach. StatDNA were credited with various roles in various signings and played a key part in helping inform Arsenal's selection. Software gave Wenger access to data on games all around the world, ways of tracking the trajectory of players, and allow him to analyse whether the team were performing above or below where they should be at any given point. I love Wenger, but was he really using that to his advantage, especially the trajectory? So yeah, I've put notes, all this sense, all you really see is a structural change, a power shift really and truly, and dynamics changing as Raul and his team get more of a foothold in the team. Like I said, man, you don't want to lose people who are footballing men, because data is one point. You could bring StatDNA up and these players could look good and you're just signing duds, but he's got the footballing brain. Martinelli wasn't signed via this, but you don't want to miss out on the Martinellis or the Torreiras, where Torreira came up as an alternative on some software, Mislintat said. You don't want to miss out. And obviously you want people in different fields collaborating together to give us the best thing. If we can have the data analytics on point to alert us to areas, or if our scouts in Brazil or whatever found a player like Martinelli who no one knows about, and we're able to check his stats and see the trajectory, and all of these things just point to more confirmations and make us more sure to signing a player, because that's all it is. The more of a picture you have, the more assurances you kind of have to a player being a success. We know signing footballers is never a guarantee to be a hit or a miss, but the more confirmations you can have, the more of a chance you have for them really to hit the ground running. Finally, Hector Bellerin, who turned 25 yesterday, has put his name forward to become Arsenal's next captain. As you lot know, he's been here for 9 years. And I do think he is a bit of a leader. He's a leader in that, he gets a lot of, rightly or wrongly, people always talk about his diet or his clothes and whatever. And I really admire, and I know people say he should just focus on football, but I really admire the fact Bellerin lives his life the way he wants to live, beyond the obvious. He's not afraid to put his passions out there. He's not afraid to talk on climate change and social issues and things. And although he's a footballer earning a lot of money, and he's not actually from London, I feel you can identify a lot with Bellerin. I've always liked that from Bellerin. The problem is, on the football field, as much as I love him, I'm not seeing enough progression. I'm not seeing enough end product in the final third, which the modern day fullback has to be. Defensively, he's not looking as good at 25 years of age, contracted until 2022, being here for 9 years. This is probably the biggest crossroads Bellerin's at, because he needs to up it. Or if not, he might not sign a new deal here. But anyways, he has said he's insisted he has all the attributes needed to wear the armband, despite not being a massive guy who shouts on the field. And obviously a lot of people attribute that, especially in this country, a leader with just someone who shouts for the sake of it. It's not always the best way of communicating. Like Aubameyang might show. Aubameyang strikes me as someone that will open his mouth and say what needs to be said, but he's not going to shout and carry on a certain sort of way. He said, since I was young at Barca, I'd always be one of the 3 captains in the team. For me, it was a role I'm used to. Obviously, it's not the same when you're 14/15 as it is now, because the responsibility and what you represent is completely different. But it's always something that I've enjoyed. And that means more scrutiny. He's also said, I enjoy positions of responsibility and I enjoy being the first one on that wall. For me, I've been speaking to the coach for a few months and he was telling me that I could be one of the people that represent the team. And you should be. You've been here for 9 years. You look at Martinez for different reasons, but few people in that side get more Arsenal than you. You've not come through the academy via Barca. You've come through the academy, so you should know what it means to play for Arsenal. You should be someone. Like I said, we look to you to identify with you because you know what it's about. I can't always say that's the case. So we need better consistency. We need better performances defensively and offensively, and then by that, you will be captain. But right now, you're not even on. For me, anyway, you shouldn't even be in the first team right now. First name on the team sheet, sort of thing. And I like Bellerin. He just hasn't been there. But it's lovely he's speaking of these things because, like I said, at 25, contracted until 2022. We heard players are not running down their deals, so that's something on the agenda with Eddie and Nketiah and about Lacazette's contracts in 2022. Can't also forget the 2021 ones with Aubameyang, Saka, etc. So he's at a crossroads. He's 25. Do you want to go out there and get that 4-year deal that will take you on? Because Arsenal, we've got to give the next deal. His next deal is going to be a big one. And will it make sense giving Bellerin a big contract, a big outlay, if we're not really seeing a performance, really? I like Bellerin a lot, but he's at a crossroads. It's now or never, like I've said. And to hear Arteta bigging you up, it's nice to see because you've got his faith. Next season, want to see the best, Carl. We've heard you're playing with an injury, so we'll cut you some slack. But he's also said, I was really happy with it because I'm someone who's been here for a long time and know how the club runs. People may not see me as this massive guy who shouts on the pitch all the time, or what people may have as a captain in their heads, but there are many different ways of leading a team, and that's 100% true. 100% true. And you can be someone that the team identifies with, but crucially, you've got to show it. I'm a big fan of Bellerin, but I've got to call a spade in the same way I'm a big fan of Holding, of Maitland-Niles, of Bellerin. These are players, of Lacazette. These are players who I love, people. You'll always hear me bigging them up, but you've got to call a spade. Them man, they are playing for these names I've just listed. Them man, they are playing for their futures, or they could be moved on very quickly. And right now, would anyone bat an eyelid? I would be devastated if any of them left, because I've got a what's the word, man? Like, I feel some sort of pull towards Bellerin because of how he's come up. I love Maitland-Niles because of how he's come up. I'm a big fan of Holding. Do you get it? Lacazette, I'm a big fan. But whether it's form, whether it's not kicking on, whether it's not being first named on the team sheet, these are players that could all fetch decent sums and be reinvested. Bellerin could probably get, now, what, we rejected 50 or something from Barca. Surely can get a 30 for that. Maitland-Niles can bring you in a 20. Holding the same. Lacazette, you know, similar fee. These can all be reinvested and put into other places. And I'm sure, I don't know what players want to do, but I'm sure many of them would like to be the ones who decide their futures rather than a club telling you you're being sold. So we'll see what's happening, man. It's decisive period for many of Arsenal players and Arsenal team alike, despite the ban. On that note, though, like I said, we've gone through Alexis, we've gone through Aubameyang, we spoke on Bellerin, and we spoke on Arsenal staff member leaving to join Wenger at FIFA. But for now, people, DG, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual.